Okay, so now that we've got the basics covered again for E&M coding, we will work through a few practice problems from different sections of the E&M manual. Okay, so the first practice problem is a 4-year-old female established patient who received evaluation and management services, which included a problem-focused history and expanded problem-focused exam and an MDM of a low level. So this is the spreadsheet that I uploaded for you. And let me give you a little overview of this. So I have location on there, and this is meant to serve just as a flow sheet or a checklist for you to help you keep track of what it is that you need to be looking for when you're selecting a code in your manual. Use it, don't use it, completely up to you. I just thought it might be helpful to kind of keep you on track and streamlined. So office or outpatient, these location codes are the first thing we're going to look for when we're trying to figure out what code to use is location. And this list is not comprehensive. There are some of the service locations for E&M codes that are not in here, such as emergency department visits and that sort of thing. We have patient type, new and established, new patients and initial visits always require 3 out of 3 of their key components. Established requires 2 out of 3, or follow-up visits requires 2 out of 3 of the key components. I put code ranges in here for you to make it a little bit easier for you to figure out where to start looking in the manual. So all of the new patient codes for outpatient or office visits will be 99201 to 99205. For established outpatient or office visits, it'll be 99211 to 99215. We have the HPI, which is history of present illness, and your 4 options for that. We have past family social history and your options for that. We have exam level and the 4 options for that, and then the MDM and the 4 options for that. So I will show you when we go through these problems here that basically I just check the boxes, and then that keeps me a little bit straighter on what it is I should be looking up to establish my code. Okay, so let me make this bigger for you. There we go. As I said, all I did was went through and checked the boxes. So she's a 4-year-old established patient, so she's office or outpatient. She's established, which means we only have to have 2 of 3 of these key components in order to derive a code. She had a problem-focused history. She had a problem-focused exam, expanded problem-focused exam, and an MDM level of low. Since she's established, we only have to have 2 of those 3. And we know that those codes for an established outpatient or office visit or patient are going to go from 99211 to 99215. So if you flip in your manual to page 8, I believe. I lied. No, I didn't. It's page 8 and goes over onto page 9. So page 8 starts off with the established patient, office or other outpatient visit, and then you just plug in your criteria. So for 99212, we have a problem-focused history, which we have here, and then we have a problem-focused examination. We have an expanded problem-focused examination, and we have an MDM of straightforward. So it's not going to be 99212 because we don't meet 2 of the 3 criteria. So let's drop down to 99213, and that is going to give us an expanded problem-focused history. We have that, and expanded problem-focused examination. Oh, I lied. We only have a problem-focused history, but we do have an expanded problem-focused examination, and then we have an MDM of low complexity, which we also have. So that gives us our 2 of 3 criteria. So that will be our code, 99213. So that one's pretty easy. Let's try this next one. We have a 16-year-old outpatient, and what I like to do on my little check sheet is check these as I go through and read it, so I don't have to go back and reread it 3 times. So we have a 16-year-old outpatient, so I checked my outpatient. He's a new patient, so right now, I know that he's a new patient. We're going to need 3 of the 3 key components in order to build a code. I also know that because he's outpatient and new patient, my codes are going to fall between 99201 and 99205 for him. The history and physical examination are expanded problem focused. Check. The physician must consider, oh, that's history and physical exam. So they're both expanded problem focus. So I check there and I check here. And then we have all this other stuff in here. Physician must consider related organ systems in addition to the integumentary system in order to treat the condition with minimal number of diagnoses to consider and the minimal amount of data to review. The physician's decision making is straightforward with regard to the treatment of this patient. So basically, out of that whole last half of that paragraph there, all I care about is straightforward. And so check. Okay, so I'm going to start with 99201 because that's where my new outpatient codes start. And that is on page 8 also. So if you look at 99201, it's going to tell you that the 3 key components, and he's a new patient, so he has to meet all 3 of them. For 99201, it's problem focus history. Well, that blows that one out of the water right there because he has an expanded problem focus history. So we'll drop down to 99202. That's an expanded problem focus history, so we have that. And then we have an expanded problem focused examination. We have that also. And then straightforward medical decision making, which we also have checked. So that means that our code for this patient is 99202. Okay, hopefully you're still with me, and we'll work on this third problem. So a patient was in an automobile accident and is complaining of a minor headache and no other apparent injuries. History gathered from bystanders states that the patient was not wearing a seatbelt and hit his head on the windshield. A 15-minute loss of consciousness was noted. The patient was then admitted for 24-hour observation to rule out head injury. A comprehensive history and exam are performed by the physician. The MDM is of moderate complexity. So a lot of it you can get just from this bottom part right here. So we're going to have comprehensive history and exam, check and check. Moderate complexity MDM, check there. And he is being admitted to the hospital for 24-hour observation. So our category is going to be hospital observation. So we're going to start off by looking in code range 99217 to 99226. And that is on page, it starts on page 9, goes to page 10. And then let's plug in our key components and match up a code. So since he is went through the emergency room, that makes him new or initial contact, so he has to have all 3 key components. So 99218, detailed history of, 99218, he has a detailed history or comprehensive history. So he has a comprehensive, so we're good there. Detailed or comprehensive exam, he does have that. Low complexity or straightforward medical decision making. That blows that one. So we'll drop down to 99219. He has comprehensive history, check. Comprehensive exam, check. And medical decision making of moderate complexity. Check again. So our code for this patient is 99219. Okay, so the next one is a little bit more difficult, and I hesitated on whether to throw these in there for you or not, but this one is a little bit more involved, so try to stay with me on this. Okay, so we have a 50-year-old female patient who was admitted to the hospital on October 10th with a diagnosis of pneumonia due to staph, at which time she received level 2 evaluation and management services from her attending physician. So you know that that's going to be mid-level services. On October 11th and October 12th, the patient received level 2, mid-level again, evaluation management services. On 10/13, the patient was discharged from the hospital in improved condition to follow up with the physician at home. The physician spent 30 minutes performing discharge day management functions. Okay, so with this lady, we now have to code for 4 different days. We have to code for her admit date, her 2 subsequent days, and then her discharge. So we'll start with her admit date. She's hospital inpatient, which is going to give us a code range of 99221 to 99239. And we should be able to find everything we need in there for the time she was admitted, and then all the way up to her discharge. So through those 2 subsequent days and then up to her discharge. Okay, so starting with her admission, her admit day, her first day there, we're going to look and go through. We know that it says she received mid-level, so that's going to make her at least comprehensive, and comprehensive with moderate decision-making. So let's look at 99221 on page, let me find it, starts on page 11. And I'm looking, I see 99222, which shows comprehensive history, comprehensive exam, and moderate decision making. This is her initial day, so she has to meet all 3 key components. So it looks to me like 99222 is going to be her day 1 code. For days 2 and 3, all of this information stays the same, except for she then becomes established, because it's a subsequent contact and not a new contact. So these 3 things stay the same, except for we have to figure out what her subsequent codes should be. So for October 11th and October 12th, we're going to flip the page to page 12 and look at subsequent hospital care. And it looks like 99231 does not make it. 99232 looks like it makes it, though. Expanded problem-focused interval history, so that's a level 2. And you can kind of tell it's a level 2 because it's not a 99231, which is first level. It's a level mid-level, which is level 2. 99232 kind of fits that. So expanded problem-focused interval history, expanded problem-focused examination, and then medical decision-making of moderate complexity. Let's see what 99233 says, though. Detailed, and high. So since she is moderate complexity medical decision making, it would make sense for her to stay at 99232. So I would bill 99232 for the 10th, or I'm sorry, for the 11th and for the 12th. And then to look at her discharge service, we need to flip over to discharge services on page 13. And if you look down on the left-hand side, hospital discharge services towards the bottom, it says right there, the first one, 99238, hospital discharge day management, 30 minutes or less. He spent 30 minutes performing her discharge day management. So then her discharge day code would be 99238. So she has 4 codes. She'll have 99222 for her initial day, 99232 for the first subsequent day, 99232 for the second subsequent day, and then 99238 for her discharge day. It's a lot going on with that lady. Okay, so the last one that I have is a 13-year-old male was admitted yesterday for a tympanotomy. Post-surgically, the child developed fever and seizures of unknown origin. Pediatric consult was requested. This was done on the 2nd day of hospital admission and 24 hours after surgery. History of present illness was extended with a complete review of systems. Okay, so you can read through the rest of that because I'm running out of time on this video. Anyway, the MDM got cut off down at the bottom here. It should be high complexity. If you look on page 15 in your manual, it starts with Inpatient Consultations. You're going to plug in all the criteria that you selected. And the code that I came up with for this one, for the sake of saving time, is 99255, which meets the key components that were listed in the problem. All right, so hopefully that helps you guys work through some of these. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or message me over the weekend. If not, I'll see you guys on Monday. Thanks.